Hello, everybody. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I am your host, Kyle Walker. My pleasure to be with you as always. This show, of course, brought to you by OKKC Sports. So, hey, we are just cruising right through 2023, aren't we? Here we are. We're already to about, the second, third weekend of the month? I don't know. We're almost halfway done with the month. We'll be by the time you hear this show. And man, time is flying. We are almost back to running season. I know that sounds so crazy to say out loud, but Battle of the Bean is less than 2 weeks away. That's kind of the unofficial start of the running season. After that, there's the Groundhog Run. If you are doing that, I won't be there. I will actually be out of town that weekend, so I have to miss running through the caves. But that's a fun race if you've never done it. Shout out to Groundhog Run. And that's a good one. And then we're back for the kickoff 5K, Sweetheart Shuffle, and just, on we go. Like away we go with running season. So make sure if you don't remember that I've told you, and I have told you, so don't make me tell you again. Now, if you go out and you register any of the KC Running Company events, if they offer you a team, the team option, we more than likely will have a Back of the Pack podcast or Kansas City Hustle Club team out there. Save you a couple bucks at registration. Make sure you join the team and save some money. Why not? If you run as much as I do, any dollars you can save, that's good. Is very good. So always make sure you check our website, backofthepackpodcast.com, also the kchustleclub.com, and you'll see kind of our calendar of where we're at and what we're doing out and about town. So I know I've done it on social media. I'm going to do it yet again because of the day I'm recording, but happy birthday to Back of the Pack podcast and KC Hustle Club ambassador, Alex. It is his birthday today. So Alex, happy birthday to you. And I will see you, sir, at Battle of the Bean. You guys are going to hear from Alex real soon on a podcast and kind of hear his story. He is definitely one of our front of the pack runners. And of course, here at the podcast, we love all of our runners, front, middle, back of the pack, wherever you're at. He is definitely at the front. So happy birthday to him. We are going to jump into this episode, and I'm going to tell you straight up right here at the top. Look. The tone of this episode is going to be a little more somber, a little more serious. Now, if you are not in a good headspace to deal with that right now, to deal with a more somber and serious episode, I invite you to pause or set it down. Come back to this episode maybe when you're more in the mood for something like that. A lot of times I want to keep it light. I want to keep things, kind of happy and fun. This one is not one of those episodes, so this is just fair warning that we're going to talk about some stuff. Some people could find this kind of a downer. I just want you to be aware. If you're not good with that right now, walk away for a bit and come back. I'll never know. I'll never know if you pause me or turn me off for a period of time and come back to me later. And even if I did know, I wouldn't care. Hey, you do what you got to do. So it was about 2 weeks ago, a hair over 2 weeks ago, unless you were living under a rock or you were paying no attention whatsoever, or you just loathe the overall sports world, you have heard of Damar Hamlin, the Buffalo Bills football player, American football player, who went into cardiac arrest during a game after what looked like a very, very innocent tackle on a very routine play. He made the tackle, he got up, he took about 3 steps, and then boom, down he went. He was treated on the field. CPR was given to him on the field as he was unresponsive and not breathing. The heroes of this story are the trainers for the Buffalo Bills who were administering CPR to him. More MVPs of this. Really anyone from the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals organization, because both of these organizations handled this like champs. They really did. The city of Cincinnati did wonderful for this player. The long and short of it is he survived. He went into cardiac arrest on the field, and due to the fast-acting nature of trainers and medical personnel, ambulance, and doctors at the hospital, this young man of 23 or 24 years old survived this event. Most people do not. And he, I think, as of last report, has now been discharged from the hospital after 2+ weeks and is leaving Cincinnati where this occurred and is heading home to Buffalo. Now, I don't know. I don't think this young man's ever going to play football again. I don't know how you could after this kind of a a medical issue. But the fact that he has walked out of the hospital and he is going home is nothing short of a miracle. Whatever your higher power is that you do or do not believe in, I do believe that the higher powers definitely had something to say on this issue. So, super, super happy that he went home. But, it was kind of our all-encompassing thought for weeks, those of us who are big sports fans like myself. And of course, it translates over into the running world. Now, just trying to gather my thoughts here. When I was sitting here, I was sitting on my couch, and I actually was not watching the game that night. I was trying to watch a movie, and I was getting messages from people like, "Oh my gosh, did you see that? Did you see that?" And for a while, I'm thinking, "What? Was it a great play? Is Buffalo going to lose because that helps the Chiefs? Go team." Well, then I went to probably the worst place for life in general, but quick place to get news and reaction. I went out to Twitter. Oh boy, is that place bad. But I was able to see very quickly a video of what had happened, kind of but see all the reports of what was going on. And the moment I saw the video, I knew what it was. Like, I don't normally toot my own horn, but toot, I had that one nailed immediately. Because if you don't remember, there's a previous episode about it, so I'm not going to harp on it very long. I, too, am a heart patient. I, too, have had my heart issues. And so I am very sensitive to this kind of a thing. So when I saw it, and then when news came out of what it was, even though I already knew what it was, it strikes me just a little different. Again, 2 open heart surgeries will do that. And I'll say it one more time. I'm sensitive to any kind of the heart related issues. And so I think that's why a lot of people kind of were reaching out to me like, wow, did you see this? Wow, what's going on? Wow, this, wow, that. Now, trust me, I'm no heart expert. I learned a lot going through my particular issues with my heart. But of course, I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV, nor did I stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. I'm just a guy who's been through it. I've been through the process. I've seen how a lot of stuff is done. And then I've been through 2 open heart surgeries myself. So I don't know. I'm no doctor, but I know a little hair more about the heart than the average Joe walking down the street. We'll go with that. But running is a very heart intensive sport. Running it's a lot of strain on the heart. Now, we're runners, and so we're normally in good enough shape that our hearts can deal with that. And running is a great way to get your heart in shape, but you'll never know when a problem can sneak up on you. You never know when a problem can come along, because as much as we can train and as great as our hearts are, they are a fickle beast sometimes and can jump up and get you when you least expect it. So I've gone out and I have found information, because that's what I do. I do not just, give you my spiel. I want to read from people who are infinitely smarter than me, and that's not hard to find. And so I've gone out to look for information about running and our hearts, because we need to know these things. Like, this is stuff that you have to pay attention to. And again, just going back to my personal story real quick. In 2016, we're in May of 2016, I run a half marathon. Corporate Challenge half marathon. If you've ever run that course, it is pure hell. I hate that course. And I ran it in about the time I expected to run it, and everything was great and fine and no problem. Took my time off, a week or 2. At that stage of my running career, I probably took 2 weeks because I was just being lazy. And then I decided, okay, time to get back out there. So we're now in late May. I'm going to get back out there and get back to running. I couldn't run a half mile. Chest pain. I had chest pain when I ran. Ooh, okay. Well, that's kind of scary. All right, I'm not going to run today. I'll run tomorrow. Ran the next day, chest pain. Half mile in, chest pain. Okay, this is a problem. So I called my cardiologist and we have our appointment. We find out that my defective valve that I already knew was defective and known for many years was finally kaput. It was done. So by the time I went through the process here, I couldn't run in late May. By mid-July, I'm on an operating table getting a mechanical valve put in my heart. And I think back, what if I had tried to power through? What if I had kept trying to run, even though I was having chest pains and I was ignoring the signs that my body was giving me? Okay, so my aortic valve, which it's a valve that opens and closes and it sends the oxygenated blood from your heart to your body. It was not getting through that valve. I had stenosis. Stenosis is a hardening of that tissue. Blood, oxygenated blood was just hitting that valve and splattering all over the place. It was not sending oxygenated blood to the rest of my body. What if I had tried to power through that? What if I had just said, yeah, okay, I've got a weird chest pain. You know what? Suck it up, Nancy, get down the road. I probably wouldn't be here talking about this podcast right now if I had kept ignoring the signs that my body was giving me and trying to power through, because we as runners are the most stubborn creature known to God and man, right? You know I'm right. So I want to give you guys just this list, okay? And this, of course, comes from our friends at Runner's World. They have talked in depth about this, and I found a really great article. This is by a Jordan Smith. It's a few years old now, but you know the medical information stays the same. She went out and talked to cardiologists about things, and this was a very all-encompassing. So anytime you hear me refer to a doctor in this, or if I read, he said this. This is Brad Oldmeyer, a medical doctor from UC Health in Fort Collins, Colorado. That is one of the medical experts listed in this article. But this is important stuff to know. And it's not just for you. Okay. Yes. If you have a warning sign, if you notice this, that, or the other, and something's wrong with you, okay, it's on you to get medical attention. What if it's your running buddy? What if it's a random stranger at a race? If you notice signs that a runner is in distress, we have to, again, our community is amazing, but we have to look out for each other. So it is not just, oh, I see this in myself, but maybe you see this in your running partner. Maybe you see this in the spouse that you run with. Maybe you see it in your friend. Maybe you see it with someone at a race. Be vigilant, keep your eyes open for this stuff. And you never know, you might save somebody's life. And that's not heavy drama. That's like for real right there. So here we go. First off, they describe it for us. What is cardiac arrest? Cardiac arrest can be somewhat difficult to define, explains this doctor I mentioned, Oldermeyer, but sudden cardiac arrest, and this is what the Bills player had. Sudden cardiac arrest occurs when your heart unexpectedly has an abnormal rhythm called arrhythmia. We've all heard that word before, and stops pumping blood to vital organs such as the brain and lungs. This spontaneous abnormal heart rhythm, where the heart beats either too fast or too slow, is incompatible with life. That's a direct quote, y'all. Incompatible with life. About 90% of people who experience sudden cardiac arrest outside of a hospital die, according to the American Heart Association. 90%. And again, it's such a happy story for Damar Hamlin because there were trainers right there. He was in the middle of a giant football stadium with thousands and thousands of people around him. If you're going to go down, that's the way to go down. What if you go down at, mile 20 of a marathon and you're not back into the city yet? Like, you're in a world of trouble. Always be paying attention to your body and how you feel. Okay, I continue on. A heart attack. Okay, so that was cardiac arrest, not the same as a heart attack. A heart attack, on the other hand, occurs when a blocked artery prevents oxygenated blood from reaching a section of the heart. If the blockage remains, the part of the heart normally nourished by that artery begins to die. Think of it like sudden cardiac arrest is an electrical issue in which there's a short circuit, but a heart attack is more like a plumbing issue in which a pipe is blocked. So what are the early signs of cardiac arrest? Okay, early signs. This pertains to all of us here. Sudden cardiac arrest comes on, suddenly, but precursors to cardiac arrest may be symptoms associated with feeling overexerted or fatigued, out of the norm when you're training. Okay, so if you're doing a training and you're like, normally I crush this, and all of a sudden you are overexerted or fatigued, that's a warning sign. Recent research published in the CMAJ, whatever that is, found that 29% of athletes who died suddenly of cardiac arrest during activity experience red flag symptoms beforehand. All athletes have symptoms associated with exertion, which are normal, but when there is a change in baseline, that's when you should be concerned. If you are no longer able to keep up your typical exercise routine, or you have a change in endurance, say you're struggling to maintain a pace that you know should be no problem, or have shortness of breath or chest pain that's out of the norm, you should talk to your doctor about a cardiovascular risk assessment, as you may be experiencing one of the red flag symptoms. And if you ever pass out or lose consciousness during exercise, that is a huge sign that you should seek a doctor's care. So here's some symptoms to look for, okay? So here's our list. Well, one of the lists. We're going to have probably two. Symptoms to look out for: unexpected shortness of breath during exercise, chest tightness, pressure, pain, or discomfort, especially if it occurs during exercise or effort, loss of consciousness, particularly during exercise, severe and unexpected heart palpitations, or an unpleasant sensation of rapid heart beating when you do not expect it to be beating rapidly or so fast, severe or sudden onset temporary dizziness, lightheadedness, or near fainting. So who is at risk? A review published by this journal looked at existing research and guidelines to suggest care and prevention of sudden cardiac arrest in athletes, found that they actually are rare occurrences. Though you may be hearing about them more and more in the media, results showed the rate of sudden cardiac arrest in athletes is just about 0.75% per 100,000 per year. Okay, chances are small. And I will grant you that chances are small, but we've all heard about the runners who have fallen. Or now we have a high-profile football incident, and of course that gets all the media's attention, but it is a thing. And it says, that said, people who have genetic dispositions to arrhythmia, an abnormal heart rate, may be more at risk for sudden cardiac arrest. However, athletes who are training for long races should undergo a physician's evaluation to assess for any symptoms or high-risk features in their family or medical history. If any are present, this may prompt more vigorous testing. So what causes cardiac arrest? Cardiac arrest often comes on suddenly without warning, and the cause is often unknown. The journal review found that cardiac arrest is often caused by a clot in the artery that delivers blood to the heart in most non-athletes and some athletes. That's not exactly us. What are signs and symptoms of a heart attack? Okay, so now we're on to the heart attack. If you experience any symptoms of a heart attack, such as pressure, tightness, chest pain or discomfort, or squeezing or aching sensation in your chest or either arm that may spread to your neck, jaw, or back, nausea, indigestion, heartburn, or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, heart palpitations, rapid or irregular heartbeats, cold sweats, lightheadedness, or sudden dizziness, regardless of gender, you should call 911 immediately. Okay, so that's what most people over 40 deal with every day. I guess it's constant heart attacks. No, kidding. Sorry, levity, joke, teasing, ha. In fact, recent research published in the Journal of the American Heart Association found that chest pain was the most common symptom reported by about 93% of people of either sex who had a heart attack. And the research found that 41% of men who had a heart attack experienced atypical symptoms such as heartburn, back pain, or pain that was similar to indigestion, while 23% of women experienced these symptoms. Why are the signs and symptoms different in men and women? Are they different? I'm sorry. Yes and no. Cardiac arrest comes on quickly, but regardless of gender, if you experience any of the symptoms listed above, you should call 911 immediately. Okay, now that's kind of in ourselves. Well, and I guess this is too, but here's what to do if you suspect cardiac arrest. First, you should get help. No kidding. Call 911 immediately and get the assistance of anyone else around you. Getting 911 on the phone is of utmost importance to get medical professionals on the scene quickly, and be sure to stay on the phone. 911 operators are trained to talk you through administering CPR, and I think that's a big deal. So if someone goes down around you, you need to call 911. Even if you don't know CPR, let them talk you through it. Because like one of the biggest fears that I have, and this is just me personally talking, this is, only my opinion. Let's say, look, I'm going to be real honest with y'all. My grandfather died from a heart attack. My father died from a heart attack. I've had 2 open heart procedures. Guess how I think my number is going to get called? Yeah, it's probably going to be a heart attack. So if I'm out running, and let's say it's at a race, and I go down, heart attack, we're going to say that that's what it is. Yeah, if someone calls 911 and then just sits there and waits for the paramedics to come save me, I'm done before they get there. The night my father died, he was done before the paramedics even arrived. Don't just call 911 and wait. Don't chew your fingernails or just hope for the best. Stay on the horn. If everyone's got a cell phone, put it on speakerphone, set the phone down and say, what do I do? Let the 911 operator tell you how to give me CPR. Hell, at least then I've got a fighting chance. I mean, I've got something. That's better than sitting there staring at my dying body being like, boy, I hope the paramedics get here in time. So look, that's just me keeping it real with you guys. That's what, as the kids say, keeping it 100. Dear God, don't just wait for the paramedics. Somebody get down there, hit my chest, pump my heart, whatever. Do something. Jeez. Anyway, I went down a bunny trail there. But honestly, like, we as a running community have to look out for each other. You got to be involved. Don't just wait for the paramedics. Get on the horn and have them tell you what to do. I return to the article. For safe measure, it's good practice to locate the nearest automated external defibrillators, the AEDs. And look, those things are awesome, and I'm glad most offices are carrying them now. They are not regular place on a race course. They are not regular place on your training course. That is a device that will deliver a shock to the heart to restore normal rhythm. Near your home, work, gym, and common running routes, AED requirements and regulations vary by state, but you can generally find them in police stations or cars, certain public schools, and health clubs with over 500 members. The two things that matter the most are how quickly and effectively CPR is started, which will replace the function of the heart, and this is the circulating the blood throughout the body, and how fast the heart can be defibrillated, given a shock administered by an AED to return the heart to normal rhythm. CPR and AED certification classes are available to anyone through the American Red Cross. And you know what? As I read this, and as I sit here right now, with this thing recording, listening to my voice, and I'm talking to all of you, what a great friggin' idea. I need to find a CPR and AED certification class through the American Red Cross, and I want to get certified. I need to do that. I definitely need to do that. And if we want to make it a team outing, if we want to make this a KC Hustle Club Back to the Pack of the Podcast event, I'm 100% in. I will put the information out on social media, and you guys can join me for this class if you haven't already taken it. But what a great idea. Anyway, continuing. It's important that you don't drive yourself or the person experiencing cardiac arrest to the hospital, as that could delay CPR or the use of an AED. Call 911 right away. Operators are trained to guide you through life-saving measure like CPR until trained responders arrive. There we go. Didn't we just talk on that? In a perfect world, everybody would be certified in CPR. But in general, cardiac arrest is not something you can predict ahead of time. So the best you can do is take proper precautions and always listen closely to your body. Again, I thought that was a very good article. And I found another one here where they give some examples of runners who went down during a race. And I just want to share one with you because it really hit close to home for me, because this guy went through the exact same thing that I did. Okay. And the title of this is, it was a complete surprise. His name, Jim Wagner. He was 46 years old in Chicago, Illinois. And the date of his sudden cardiac arrest was February 4th, 2015. That was about, that was a little over a year before I had my surgery. So though he'd been running marathons since 2000, Wagner was no stranger to heart problems. In 2008, his doctor noticed a heart murmur and sent him to a cardiologist who found a bicuspid aortic valve, ding, 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 that was me, the most common congenital heart defect. After a year of monitoring and several more marathons, he had open heart surgery to replace his valve in 2010. Still, he was shocked when in the middle of a training cycle for the Illinois Marathon in Champaign in April, he woke up one morning in an ambulance outside of his condo. At 4:30 a.m., his wife, a nurse practitioner, heard him making loud noises. She thought he was having a nightmare, but couldn't wake him. Soon it became clear he was having a seizure. Then he turned blue and stopped breathing. So she called 911 and administered CPR until paramedics arrived. When Wagner thinks back before his first heart problems, he can recall some issues he'd largely ignored at the time, including night sweats and the occasional sudden spike in his heart rate while running. But the cardiac arrest came as a complete surprise. Wagner stayed in the hospital for 4 days, undergoing a battery of tests. Meanwhile, his wife called his father to see if there was any family history of sudden cardiac arrest. That's always good to check, Martinez said, and this is one of the doctors mentioned in this particular article, since family history of any heart problems elevates your risk of sudden cardiac arrest. Yikes for me. But there were none. The doctor said his problems were unrelated to his previous heart issues. They prescribed an anti-seizure medicine and implanted a defibrillator. Wagner couldn't run for 6 weeks afterwards while his wounds from the surgery healed. But soon afterward, he was able to get back to training. In April, when he was supposed to run a full marathon, he ran a half instead. He was able to take on 26.2 miles 2 more times. that November in Naperville, Illinois, and again at the Illinois Marathon the following April. That would be his last, he said. Though he has run a few half marathons since, it wasn't against any medical advice. It was just to give my wife peace of mind, he said. She was a little nervous every time I was out there. Although the risk of another sudden cardiac arrest is higher after the first one, many runners who have had one return to long distance racing without incident. An ICD can provide a layer of protection, but doesn't make you bulletproof. After such a major event, you should discuss with your cardiologist, preferably a sports cardiologist, about your training goals, expectations, and settings on your ICD if you have one. So that's the defibrillator inside of you. So there we go. I wanted to pass on information as I can. I like it when I can give you guys information that, look, and I understand I'm reading from an article here, but this isn't an article that you guys are going to seek out. This is an article, though, that we all need to know about. This needs to be in our brains at times. And I swear to goodness, if you're ever at a race and a runner goes down and you think back to that episode of the Back of the Pack podcast and kind of remember, hey, we've talked about this, and maybe that person gets treated a little faster because of that, then this was well worth my reading you articles word for word almost. So it is a thing. Unfortunately, runners collapse all the time at races. We lost a runner at the 2022 London Marathon. I saw that somebody went down at this year's New York Marathon. And then, of course, in longtime runners in this area, I really hope I'm not hitting a sore spot with you, but we have lost a local runner. It was 2017 at Rock the Parkway, where a gentleman collapsed and didn't make it. And he was a young person. He was 34. He was in shape. It was just one of those things. So you never know. And again, I never blame a race. I do not blame races for this. This is just, it's unpredictable, as they've said. As they said many times in that article, sudden cardiac arrest is exactly that. It is sudden. It is unpredictable. You never know where and when it's going to happen. But we, as a running community, need to be aware. We need to look out for each other. And we need to know what to do if that runner next to you just drops and is in danger. So that is where we are today. Look, again, I hope we didn't bum you out too much. We want to be transparent in things. We want to know about things. And this is just one of the things that is an unfortunate reality in this hobby that we have chosen for ourselves. And so let's look out for each other. Okay. That's going to do it for this topic. If you guys have any questions, or if you ever, want to know, if you want to know my story, we did a whole episode on it. Just, go back through the episodes and find Kyle's heart story. You can hear all about that. Again, what I had was the most common defect of the heart. So if you or someone I actually have known 2 people now who have had that surgery after I did. But if you want to know anything about it, please reach out. I can tell you about it. I can tell you about recovery. I can tell you the right things to do, and I can certainly tell you the wrong things to do because I did most of them. I'm more than happy to talk to you about that. And any other questions that you have that I might be able to answer, I will either answer them or I will try and direct you to someone who can. Again, me, not a doctor. I am an amateur podcaster at best who works at a bank during the day. Did find it funny talking to someone. They're like, oh, yeah, you actually have to have a day job, don't you? Yes, I do. I unfortunately make nothing off this podcast. This is a labor of love. But if I ever made enough that I could support my life by only podcasting, sign me up for that, please. I'm in. These episodes would get a lot better because I'd have a lot more time to work on them. But anyway, all right. So, hey, everyone, be super safe out there. Look out for each other and just be careful. Listen to your bodies. Don't push too hard. And look, I know I'm the last person to say that because I don't listen to my body and I do push too hard. But don't be me. Be better than me. But take care of yourselves out there, okay? So that way, and this is how we raise the fun level of this show, that way you can be at the Back of the Pack podcast first birthday party coming up March 11th at the St. Patrick's Day run in Westport, the Westport St. Patrick's Day 4-miler. Let's get the name right. We are all going to gather after that race and raise a glass of whatever your beverage of choice is, from adult to water, to just celebrate 1 year of the Back of the Pack podcast. And really, it's not celebrating me. I swear I'm only the voice of this thing. I only do the talking. This whole spiel, not me. We are raising a glass to the people who work on this, myself-ish, producer Katie, who you all know, who does a ton of work on this, the ambassadors now who are starting to do more and more. And there's some great stuff coming down the pipe with them. And really, to us. It is going to be raising a glass to us as the Kansas City running community, who are one of the best groups of people out there. And I will challenge any other city's running community against ours. We are the best. Quote the Kyle, nevermore. But yes, I can't wait to see you guys all at the Westport St. Patrick's Day 4-mile race, going to Kelly's after the race to raise a glass to us. That's what we're going to do. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I am your host, Kyle Walker. My pleasure, as always. This show is produced by Katie O'Neill and brought to you by OKKC Sports. We'll be back next week with, one more episode before I go on vacation. And then we will have an episode while I'm on vacation because I've already recorded it. And then we're going to be back and we're going to be into February and we're going to be running a whole bunch. So go ahead and get your sneakers ready, baby, because it's almost time to really pound some pavement. So everyone have a great week of training. Be safe out there. Look out for each other. Love you guys. I'll see you next week.